Yeah, good morning. So let's begin. Simply because I don't want to be unjust to people who have come at least 5 minutes late, rather than people who will come 10 minutes late. So let's start for the benefit of people who came in time. As a quick recap, we did the plan and execute portions from how to visually communicate. And we today are looking forward for the third section of the whole process called Impress. I'm going to recap about a couple of assignments submitted. Some observations. Couple of people have submitted just 2-slide presentation. Some of them have submitted the same presentation being submitted by every group member of the group. So I thought, I was very happy at 6 o'clock when I opened the Moodle and I saw like 28 submissions, and I was saying, wow, every group has submitted. And then only I realized that couple of them have submitted twice and thrice when I started downloading them. I think it's a good idea to do that before we actually go ahead. Yeah. This was a common practice seen that people had just named the file with their roll number and all that, but the presentation slide number 1 never had their names, roll numbers, nothing. It just started with LAN-BAN. So although it's a submission, so you have the liberty of naming it in the roll numbers, but typically avoid this because when you upload it or when people will see it, they need to see who has done it. There was a very interesting slide in this presentation. So I think who did this? Somebody, Ashish. Is he there? Ah, okay. Yeah. So I think, so what was the reason of this gray slide? To show the disadvantages. Yeah, but the disadvantage is that, what is the disadvantage of the slide itself? Nobody can read it, right? So if you wanted to communicate that these are the disadvantages, what was the alternative you had? No, you use a white background slide, is fine, but you want to communicate something using color. You wanted a dark background, but then you should have just changed the text to white. That should have sufficed, because readability is the prime. This is an example of a black slide. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Then it is a very apt example. But by the way, if you read my assignment, I had written that use of graphics, instead use an image, use a counter graphic to show, because we had not discussed about color schemes and all. What I was expecting was we had seen multiple types of graphics. So I wanted you to use a bad graphic instead of a good graphic. But you didn't use any graphic. Maybe that is your definition of using a bad graphic, but that's okay. I had something interesting here. Okay, the same problem. So slide starts with software piracy, no names. It's okay, we can go ahead. Yeah, this slide has a title. So the first slide is software piracy. Second slide is motivation. So is it the motivation of the talk, or motivation of why to do software piracy, or motivation of why to stop software piracy? What is that motivation mean? It's a hanging word actually. So such kind of titles, even though they make sense, you should avoid such titles. This is a very good example actually, and that's why I wanted you to see this. The person has searched the net and found a very good comparison chart. It's a good graphic to use probably. I hope this is not an example of bad slide, right? Who did this? The group is itself missing. Okay, but you give. So not example of a bad slide. No, okay, good. So this is a good example. The problem is that you have found out a very good table which shows highest and the lowest piracy in the world. The graph itself says highest and lowest. Graph itself shows the names of the countries, and you again spend some space and you make the graphic smaller unnecessarily to write the same things again. So simply put the same graphic big size and put a box around it. What you wanted to highlight? You wanted to highlight highest and the lowest. They are already present there. Just put a box like I have done in the orange color and remove this text. That will just give the maximum priority to what you want to say. There is another thing. Yeah, this is a common problem again found in too many presentations. Can anybody point out what is the problem in this slide? What is whatever I have marked as square? What is the problem with that area? Or actually writing types, maybe writing manner, the way it is written. Any guesses? Probably no, because everybody thinks that that is the only way to write. Okay, so I'll tell you. When you have only one word in line and you start with the next line, it is implied that you are explaining that word. So no need to put colons in that, first thing. Second thing, if you have only one definition to explain of soft lifting, you need not put that dashed bullet there. So when you have 4 definitions of soft lifting, then you need those 4 things to distinguish them, right? When you have just one bullet, and that I have seen in umpteen number of presentations submitted today, that for one bullet, there is still a round or a square or a dash or whatever. You don't require that when you have just one point to say. So it will be more easy to read slide when you avoid this kind of clutters. So that was the reason I wanted to choose this slide to explain. So see this. So all these things have only one definition and still they have the bullets, which is actually taking this part indented for no rhyme or reason. You are changing the color, you are changing the font size, so it's already clear that you are defining that word. So it was pretty clear, so no need of that hashed bullet. This was a slide with bad graphic example. I am not sure if anybody else has done it. I saw 1 or 2 presentations who actually explained why that bad is bad, right? That was a very good effort actually. I think I have that in the example, but that was a very good indicator of how you are already aware of what is bad. That was a good sign of doing it, although I didn't ask for it, that define your bad slide, but they did it on their own, so that was a good sign. What is bad about this? What is bad about this slide? By the way, who did this? Which group? Same group, sorry. We are in the same presentation. Okay, what is bad about this?
It's not related to the topic, popular online piracy.
Okay.
The pick above does not specify whether it is a garbage or a pile of.
Okay, the visual is unclear visual. So it is, so according to our, if you recall the types of graphics, this is neither decorative, neither representational. Because if you want to decorate, you could have used, this is okay as a, but it still does not represent what you want to say. You want to say piracy hubs or something. So a lot of pirated CDs is what you want to show, but you can't distinguish what is it. So that is why it is a bad graphic. Okay, let's. By the way, this this slide was good according to me for one interesting reason, which actually is the topic of today's lecture, of use of colors. So when you are talking about penal codes, what color is first strikes your mind? Indian Penal Code बोलते ही लाल color याद आ जाता है. So they have tried to add that with a grey backdrop, and so there are 4 penal codes shown in a very striking manner. That if you don't do this, maybe they are discussing that they did unintentionally. And okay. Was it intentional or unintentional? Now it has become intentional. Okay, just on the fly it became intentional. Fine, but I think after I have today's presentation, probably you will start doing it intentionally rather than doing it by accident. Okay, same problem. When you have just one definition, don't put fancy bullets. Just these arrows and all are not required because you have only one thing. This actually, according to me, was an example of bad slide, because you talk about trends and you show a decorative graphic. When you say trends, you need to show what? You are doing a quantitative comparison. So this is better than that, and or it is changing over a period of time. So you want to show something like that. So graphs or tables are the most useful thing. But you need, when you are talking about trends, you are showing just one pop-up picture of something else. But actually they had submitted this as their bad designed slides. So most of the bad graphic examples were badly designed slide examples. They hardly had a definition of why the use of graphic was bad in that. But nevertheless, I was quite happy with the submissions. I will show something from the last year's presentations. This was from the summer interns who came up last year and gave presentation in the end. Have a look at the dotted square. They want to talk about a positive and a negative point of every topic, and they have put a plus and a minus there. They could have easily did that with some color code. They had the bullets, so you can just put a green bullet and a red bullet, and it's very easy to retain for retention purpose what was the positive point of that and what was negative. Now this is becoming too difficult for me to read, first of all. Secondly, for alignment it is a problem, because the plus takes more space than the minus sign, so it just looks very jagged at the end, right? Okay, so I think we'll just move on to the presentation today, which is about Impress. So we'll be really zipping out through this presentation because I have too many things to tell you, and like other presentation, this presentation also will be up on the website, so you can have more questions maybe in the last class, and I will be present here to answer those. Okay, so talking about color schemes, we'll just see some examples. So this is a word given, military. There are 4 colors given to it. Which one is suitable for this word and why? Any guesses for that? So unanimous decision is pink. No. How many for gray and how many for green? How many for gray? Military gray, okay. And how many for military green? Rest are for blue. Okay, and how many for pink? Oh, sorry, okay. So yeah, there is a, so let me just say, okay, if you lock blue, green or gray for something in military, so what will you do for soft? The word soft. So you'll have, you'll check, actually you can do a negative marking for this. You can say that, okay, this is not soft at all. So what is not soft here? Like pink was not military. What is not soft here? Blue. How many for blue not soft? Okay, lot of them. Okay, so now when you check out blue, how many people will check out blue for space? Or green for space? How many people will not like green for space? Lot of them, right? Similarly, when I say neutral, you need, have a question or you're raising hand for, okay, fine. So what I am trying to show you is that for various colors, you carry certain meanings. And how does that come? So color is equal to mood, color is equal to expression, color is equal to convention, and that's why color has a meaning. And every time you use a color, it suddenly starts flowing the meaning along with it. There are standard definitions of different color schemes. I'm just keeping them in this slide, and they are called monochromatic, contrasting, and triads, where 3 or more colors are used. These have to be used in this format. If you want more readability, use more contrast. Like the slide what you had for disadvantages, the problem was gray text on gray background, which is not visible. So if you want readability, if readability is your idea, then use more contrast. But since you said you made that as a bad graphic, it was a perfect example. This is very interesting information, especially for you guys who are going to present. Depending on the room where you are going to present, you can choose between the type of backgrounds. There are some presentations I got with black background. Some of them, and most of them were white background presentations, and couple of them were green background presentations also, who were talking on the topic of save trees, right? So typically, bright room like this, use a white background with a black text on it. That's more readable and it is more easy to do. I'm just showing some examples of vivid and pale. I hope you can see that. But the pale is anyway not supposed to be seen as it is already. The second aspect is about the typography, and I have seen almost 95% presentations, especially those who are done in Windows, using Arial or Times Roman as the font, and they don't go beyond that, probably not even realizing what is the options offered by the tool. Just quick recap on what are the available things with you, what are the tools with you, and these are mostly the type of fonts called the serif fonts and the sans serif font, and some of them are look like written by hand. They are called the script fonts. And just going back with the example, now if we say that we want the word military there, which font should be okay? So again the negative marking. Which one will not be the good one out of the four? Green one? No. Blue one. Okay. It depends on the perception, right? So some people who find military as a disciplined thing will probably even like the blue one because it's quite straight. The green color is fine, but the font is too casual to military, right? So these kind of things will be depending on perception. Same thing happen with soft. What is the first thing you want to see in the word soft? You want softer edges. You don't want sharp edges, right? So even though you have the green one having a lot of curves, it still has those sharp edges. But the top one, the gray one, actually looks like it is pretty soft. For the space thing, you have various choices. Same thing happens for neutral. So now neutral is non-neutral actually. In most of the cases, it is not neutral, except for probably you will settle down for, if you have to choose from the four, you will settle down for green one or blue one, gray one. Okay, gray you are going by the color or the font? What is riding your decision? Most of the time it is color actually, because that hits you first. Okay. So that is why I am now coming to the point is that when you want to emphasize something, what are the options available with you? And exactly from the same point what you just made an observation, you chose neutral more by color and not by font. So how do you lend emphasize? If you want to emphasize something, you lend it by making it bold. You can do it by making it italics. You can do it by underlining. You can also do it by color, if you can choose a proper color. The problem happens when most of the people merge all these emphasizing options into one and make it bold, italic, colorful, and underlined. And that is where it is overemphasized. And that's very peculiar of most of the presentations, when they just stuff everything into one. You can just do it by slight italics and you are unnecessarily using that. The best example is novels. If you read classic novels, you will hardly find color in that. Actually no color in that. They are mostly black and white. And they will emphasize using the only thing they can change is the italics, and very, very rarely, especially only for the name of the chapters, probably they will use bold. Even then they will not use it because they will just change the font size. So chapter is separately kept at the top and it's just bigger font size, that's all. But then that lends you complete freedom to visualize the way you want to visualize the novel. So that's the beauty of it. So like I gave some color guidelines, these are some typography guidelines. Try and use as minimum fonts as possible. Don't use too many fonts. 2 are advisable. My presentation is an exception because I am talking about it, so you can easily counter saying that why your presentation had 61 fonts, but that was only to show something else. Okay, so use font options to emphasize, and use the alignment feature of left because we have a tendency of leading left to right and top to bottom. So avoid center aligned. Any classic example, what is centrally aligned looks best? Like what is the best example of centrally aligned things? Any content you can imagine that? Huh? Pardon me? Title. Yeah, good, okay. No, apart from presentation. Any place where you can be happy with a centralized layout? Huh? Okay. Invitation cards. That is the most popular version of centrally aligned because you have to give emphasis to everything. So there is nothing like that. You have to read linearly from top to bottom. That is why in an invitation card you will always find a centrally aligned thing, except for the venue and time or something which will be left aligned somewhere hanging in the bottom. That's a standard invitation card. I just missed out, I didn't read this bullet, but it's a very important bullet. Use grid. Almost all the softwares where you make your presentation slides have an option called switch on grid. The grid will give you a dotted line box at the bottom of the presentation area, which will help you in deciding alignment of objects what you are putting. Let me tell you, it is a very important feature. Especially I have seen a lot of presentations where text and visuals are hanging. They are not in alignment with each other. And nowadays the tools are so sophisticated that if you just start moving the visual, it will automatically give you some yellow colored lines which will tell you whether it is aligned with this part or that part. My suggestion is please use those tools. Please look at those options and use them very, very carefully. That will just help you enhance the presentation quality as such. From any questions so far? Anyway, but I'm not going to take because I'll take them in the next session because I have to cover up a couple of slides. Just take these papers, write your roll numbers. This is the attendance sheet for today. Okay, coming to visual effects. So once you are done with your fonts and colors, you have put in everything in your presentation. The next hurdle is actually adding some visual effects, and people use variety of effects for text. They just drop those things down, and there are so many fancy transitions available, and people make full use of that. So actually there are some door openers, and there are some blast, and there is something called page curl which is very popular apparently, and there are some sliding windows, and box. Now this is a very latest one which a lot of people are using. But what happens is the range becomes so bad that finally you forget what was the title of this presentation, where did we start this. So it just takes away, let us unwind a bit, probably just go back. Okay, so we started here, we started with Impress, and what you don't want at all in any of the presentations, that the people should ideally take away whatever the message you are trying to say, and they should not be taken away from the message. So they should remain in the message, right? The moment you start showing this graphics overloaded with whatever computational power you have, they are just going away from the message, which you don't want, and you can't afford that because you are making a very serious presentation at times. So that brings us to this very classic debate of form and function. So what is a form and what is a function? Form is actually, it is written in the other way, but I will read it from right to left this time. So function is what is the message. Now I'm talking in terms of communication in a written part or visual part, but this was actually derived from architectural and product design domain, where the function is how the object is to be. So what is the purpose of creating that object? That was the actually origin of this form or function debate. But if you know what is the message, then form is how you are showing the message. So within this tussle of what should come first, most of the researchers agree that the function should be decided first. So if you know the function is to have a bunch of bristles to clean and apply something, if that is the function, the form will depend on what is the application. So I'm coming back to the point where I said that you need to know your audience when you design a presentation. So similarly, if the function is only stated like this, you have bunch of bristles to clean or apply something, there can be multiple applications. And as you can see, for every application, you have a different form of the same function. So you have a toothbrush, you have a shaving brush, you have a painting brush. And like I said, if you say paper, probably this is not the brush you would like to use, but this is the brush you would like to use. Because for a wall, probably you will go with the first one. So depending on the form, the form will change according to the function. Depending on the function, the form will change. So it's correlated. And that is why what I wanted to show you was, okay, so considering one of the examples from my own research, where the title of my thesis is Design Considerations for Creating E-Learning Animations. I could have shown it like this because it is about design and it is about animations, but rather this is more readable and more apt for the kind of audience I am going to cater to. It's not a audience which will be lured by such things because they are more interested in the slides after this, not on this animation. So avoid these things. And how to do that? So this classic debate is solved like this according to me, and you can just give some time to think over it. What I say is both are important. You can't neglect anyone, but inadequate attention to either of them will lead to ineffective communication. So if I just understand that bunch of bristles for applying something is the thing given to me, and I give inadequate attention to the form when I am deciding the form, I'll probably start using a toothbrush to paint a wall, which is wrong. So I have to understand, give adequate attention to what is being told to me, but if I give excess attention, then it will create a chaos. So if I have too much of form stuffed into whatever was given to me, it will become a problem case. So in my opinion, content should govern the decision of what form it should take up. So the function is finalized, like you know what is the content, it is finalized. Let that take the decision making role while deciding how it should be presented. This is a question asked from the last semester students, that what should I use for presentation? There are so many tools available, and what should I use? Is it Keynote is better than PowerPoint, or a Beamer is better than PowerPoint? This is one research I just could see on the web, where PowerPoint is the most preferred thing, and no doubt about it. And but the going by the earlier definition of the content should govern your decision of selecting the form, I have just wanted to show you an example. So if you want to present it to a particular audience, then it becomes easy for you to choose the kind of presentation tool you want to. So if the content is a conference paper about math game based on gesture recognition, if that is the title of your paper, and you have to show the entire process, and the audience is a conference attendees, then you have two options. You have a very, how many people know about Prezi, by the way? Prezi as a presentation tool, yes? Okay, so you guys can tell others in your group what is Prezi, those who don't know. But Prezi is an online tool created for creating animated presentations, in which case actually the entire presentation lies on one single piece of area or space, and the software actually shows you one part at a time. It has the ability to show you one part at a time. So that is the way they are creating it. So there is a presentation option from that. This is a template from Keynote, like one I am using here. And which one will you use actually? I don't have the example right now because I was thinking I'll be short of time. So after we debated about this point, I'm just showing you the conclusion what happened in the last semester. So a lot of people found out that because we had a case study as an assignment in the class. So people are asked, some people are asked to make a Prezi presentation for the same topic, and some people just made a PDF of that, a PowerPoint presentation of that. And then people found out that a simple PDF for CS conference is good enough to communicate, as against animated presentation in a game developers conference where people, the audience is completely different. So why is that? It's because communication is about the effectiveness of design to put forth a message. So if you code the message properly, and then if you want to communicate that to this destined audience, like you know that this is the destination where my message has to go, then probably you are in a better place to choose the tools appropriately. So just a recap of that, because I'll stop here on this, and I'm just making the last point of practice, which is very, very important. Whatever you want to create, it doesn't stop at the point where you have made a beautiful .ppt or a .pdf. it requires human effort in terms of practicing that over and over again, timing it properly so that it ends in exact time limit what is given to you. And most of the time in conferences I have seen the bells ringing, your time is over and you stop and you have still not come to conclusion slide. And that is where the whole problem starts happening, because you have not communicated the message fully. So what's the big use of making a very beautiful presentation? So these kind of things are some of the important aspects of presentation, which are not actually visual communication, which I am supposed to talk of. But I just wanted to add that based on my experience over a period of time. So practice is all the more important, and time it and practice it according to the, not only from the timing part of it, but also from the technology part of it. So can you click at the time when you want to go to the next slide is also part of practice. So can you alt tab and show the website what you wanted to show? Is it open at that particular instance? Is also part of practice. Have you opened all the windows which you want to show at that time? Have you checked out the network before starting the presentation? Also part of practice. And that is very important, because at the last minute, most of the people will be seen trying to connect or trying to type in the URL and not getting it because the network is down at that instance and you have not downloaded that PDF. Such things happen quite frequently if the practice is not done in advance. So I just took this opportunity to add a couple of other injections to the topic what I was given. So thank you, and this is my email ID where you can mail me for some queries or comments if you have about this thing. And like other presentations, even this will be uploaded on the website, on the Moodle, and you can download it and make use of it.
Why all the things that we have stated we are important. First of all, the absence of roll numbers and names in your presentation. You will never do that when you are making a presentation for your MTC or seminar. Your first slide will have your roll number and name. But in a group, how did the group forget to have a slide with all the roll numbers and names at this roll number? Second, invariably, when you upload a file, how to name the file has to be told to you by somebody. It's not stated. And suppose it is a assignment file, practically 80% submissions will have file name assignment_file or assignment file. Can you understand the plight of a poor teacher who gets 105 assignment files and has no proof who has submitted or not submitted? In fact, in my CS11 course, I usually report a lecture titled, "What is there in a name?" And I can prove that everything is there in a name. Observe that when you study programming, for example, how many of you did not naturally write different program versions as P1.c, P2.c, P3.c, P4.c, etc.? How many of you use single-digit variable names in most of your programs and do so even today? This is a question of discipline and culture. And I'll tell you one of the major psychological reasons. It is universally true for all human beings. It is much more true for Indians and Asians in particular. We are extremely self-centric. Extremely self-centric. More than most other people from development. Being selfish is natural, but being completely self-centric means we are less sensitive to others. So take this question of name. When I give a name to my slide deck or to a file, I am looking at myself only, and I understand perfectly well what assignment file is. Also, I know my roll number in it. So I don't see, genuinely, I don't see any need to include. The fundamental aspect of any communication is meant for others. This point perhaps has not been emphasized sufficiently in this course. But write that down as the most important cardinal principle. Communication is not meant for you alone. There are forms of communication. Meditation, for example, is a self-communication. Communication with God, typically, is self-communication. But the kind of communication that in this course you have been dealing with and that you will be dealing with most of the time is meant for others. It does not matter whether you are preparing a verbal communication, written communication or presentation slides. But at least 1 minute before you start making the presentation and at least for 1 minute after you have made the presentation. 1 minute, nothing more but nothing less. You must sit down and put yourself into the shoes of the person or persons for whom this communication is meant. We never do that. We prepare the communication as if we are preparing it for ourselves. We may occasionally think of others, but that is not the driving point of our life. You get this point? That is why what is there in the name is to be seen not from your angle, but from somebody else's. About 5 names, about naming conventions, about writing roll number and name, about citation of papers, everything is built around the premise that communication is meant for us. And this you better sort of take it into account. The notion of overemphasize cannot be overemphasized. I got the first brush in 1973 or 74. In those days, the question papers were cyclostyle. There was no Xerox machine. I don't know how many of you have seen a cyclostyling machine and a stylus and other things. Has anybody seen that? Very old technology. It was very painful. You had to type a question paper which by removing the ribbon on the typewriter so that the perforations are made on the back end and then you take the cyclostyle. So there used to be a big rigmarole when we go for examination papers were actually centrally typed in the morning of the exam. And there would be a typist allocated to each teacher. So I will go with my question paper and then give it type. In 74 I learned this lesson is not overemphasized. So the typist who was typing, initially as you know there are notes. One, open book examination, only this is allowed in setting. And then while he was typing the second sentence, he just laughed. I didn't know what happened. What is so funny about my paper? So he said, you have written, interacting with neighbor is strictly prohibited. They said, of course it is strictly prohibited. So he says, do you know what prohibited means? He said, yes, prohibited means forbidden. What does strictly prohibited mean? I said, strictly forbidden. He says, you are completely undermining the meaning of the word prohibited. Prohibited is prohibited, period. Period. There is absolutely nothing else, no qualification required. Prohibited. So you should not say strictly prohibited. Very strictly prohibited. This overemphasis has to be. And we, again, this is a trait in us, Indians and Asians, where we sort of add adjectives, we tend to add superlatives more than others. So this is something that we should learn to do less. On the form and content, I'll give you one example. Many of us are good speakers. Me and a colleague of mine had gone to a conference where we met a person who had attended my talk 2 years ago in some other conference. And he was all gaga. He was extremely impressed with that presentation. He said, sir, I really love that presentation. Still remember. So my friend who was with me curiously asked me, what did you talk about? So I said, I don't really remember. Then he asked him, what did Mr. Patak talk about? He said, that I don't remember. But he gave a fantastic talk. So you see, this is form over content. People remember you for the fantastic presentation that you made, but forget the point that you are making. So recently my friend Dr. Anand Deshpande, who heads bus system, told me about a trick which Mr. Azim Premji uses. Mr. Azim Premji, as some of you might know, is the head of Wipro. So whenever he gives talks, he will start by saying, I'll tell you 4 things. And then he will say number 1. He will say something. Some point, some word he will use, and then he will talk about it. Then he will say, now we have talked about the first point, this. Now I will talk about the point 2, which is this. And he goes to point 3, he repeats point 1, point 2, and then mentions point 3, talks about point 2. And at the end he says, point 1, point 2, point 3, and now I will talk about point 4, which is the target. In conclusion, he will say, so my dear friends, I have shared 4 important things with you. 1, this, 2, this, 3, this, 4, this. I hope you will contemplate about these points. 99% of the people do not forget those 4 points. 99%. You ask anybody who has attended Azim Premji's talk on such and such topic, they will say, he said this. Maybe 1 or 2 points will miss. But you realize the usefulness of such a approach? Why it is important for you when you make a presentation on your FTP or seminar or a paper presentation, something like that, you will have so many things to say. And many times the details will overshadow the identification of the salient point that you have. Do not lay that. So what are the 3 things that I have talked about? What is there in a name? Choose names carefully, represent names properly, wherever, whether it is file names, your names, roll numbers, whatever, variable names in program names. The second is, do not overemphasize. So, please do not strictly prohibit it. Just prohibit it. I am tempted to tell you a story of one, there was a movie, I don't know whether I share it or not. Some 6 American generals are captured by Italians and they are kept in an Italian prison. And of course, as per Geneva Convention, they are kept in a very royal palace. They are all generals. They move around, they have all facilities, this, that. Towards the end of the Second World War, Germans take over Italy and they take over all the prisoners. So all these 6 generals are taken in a truck to an army camp and they are all put in a barrack. And when they get out of the truck, they find some very thrifty kind of arrangements. So one general takes out a book from his pocket and gives it to that sergeant there. He says, we are generals from the US Army. We expect to be treated as per Geneva Convention. He gives that book. The sergeant is shown completely confused. He says, what convention? He is shown Geneva Convention. He says, what does it have? So the general says, it has all the rules using which you have to deal with us. So he looks at so many rules. So, general says yes. So the sergeant just gives the book and says, no. Let me tell you, we follow some very simple rules here. Rule number 1. Anybody disobeying orders, when he stops, anybody disobeying any orders will be shot dead. Rule number 2, and again think for some time. Then says, there is no rule number 2. Rule number 1 covers everything. So you see, very clearly, without any undue emphasis, he has told in one sentence, you don't do what I tell you, you will be shot. I think I should have followed that principle and said, anybody who does not attend 100% classes will fail. So single rule would have covered everything. So let me take this opportunity to thank Professor Samit Sastravade. I hope you liked it. Appreciated the presentation, there was something useful that you could get out of this. Please use that in your communication. We will have our last lecture on this Thursday. Apparently the institute portion is still going on like a month ago. There is next week, Monday is a holiday. So So they have again combined Monday and Tuesday. I have talked to Professor Sethi as to why he has decided to chew up the Tuesday, Thursday batch completely. Because every time I do the lecture on Tuesday, okay, that is, you know that next Tuesday is a combined lecture again because of the holiday of month. Well, this time I have decided to be one upon him. I am going to tell him it's okay because I am finishing my lectures on this Thursday. So we shall not have any class after Thursday. I would like you to concentrate on other topics. But very important, this Thursday class is an absolutely obligatory class. So unless there is an extraordinary emergency, I would not like anybody to miss there. Because that is the day on which I will take stock of all that has happened in this course, and more importantly, from the student's perspective, I will, my PAs as we speak are going through the what we call submissions and other things, email submissions, the lack of attendance, people sending those emails. Apparently, not everybody in the email, not everybody has sent an email to the Moodle. To do that, HS699 automatically comes up on the subject. But if you send a personal email and it is sent from God knows which account and subject line absent today, so which day? Who are you? Actually, if you cleverly use the subject line, says roll number so and so was absent on this day. Just that. And you don't need to have any message. Just the subject is very appropriate to convey everything that you wanted. So writing short messages but accurate messages and comprehensive messages, including the subject. This is another thing I would like to tell you. What is there in a name? What is there in a title? Anybody who does not compose the subject line by critically looking at what you want to convey is doing a disservice to the recipient. Please remember, forget my mailbox is exceptional, I get 250 emails a day. Now when I have to search, I will remember I have received a mail from a student. I have seen it fleeting, but I don't remember the name of the student. What will I search on? I will search on HS699. I will search on keyword absent in the message. Please remember, with several gigabytes of my email, I cannot afford a full text search of it. It is like half an hour. So please be considerate to others for whom your communication has to be effective. Henceforth, at least decide you will never send an email without spending 30 seconds on constructing the message line approach. Please remember, message portion is a very, very important paper. And as I said, you need not often write anything else with a short message. That's the way. So I will conclude by telling you the shortest ever conversation that I have heard. My senior colleague is now retired, Professor S.S.P. Rao, who was the head of the computer science department. We are staying in some street-type quarters there, and I have gone over to a friend, Professor Balmond, who is a professor in math department here. And I was inside his house, and we were talking about some meeting that was scheduled tomorrow, next day, by Professor Rao and so on. And while we were discussing, I had a cup of tea, suddenly they told me a rant. Professor Nimai opened the door. S.S.P. Rao was standing outside. This is the briefest conversation I have heard. So, Professor Balmond, when he saw S.S.P. Rao, he said, tomorrow, he wanted to continue. S.S.P. Rao said, 10:30. And that's all. Tomorrow, 10:30. Everybody will be telling nothing else was required. But that was a face-to-face conversation where both of them knew exactly what they were talking about. We have also heard about the slowest conversation that happened between two sadhus in Himalaya, three sadhus in Himalaya. Did I tell you that story? The slowest conversation. There are three sadhus who were doing some tapasya in Himalaya. First they went to Haridwar and they felt it was very crowded. Then they went to Rishikesh. There were still some people. Then they said, this is nonsense. They must really go to a place that they will not be disturbed. So they all climbed up Himalayas and went to a completely secluded place. No people there. And then they started doing their tapasya without talking to each other. 3 years later, one of the sadhus says, last year it was very cold. And again nothing happened. 2 more years. The second sadhu says, yes. 3 more years passed by. The third sadhu says, I am irritated. If you are going to talk like that, I will go somewhere else. So you see, people can remember conversations, short conversations over a very long period of time. There are many facets to communication, and believe me, it continues to remain a very exciting topic for a person like me who has handled communication for 45 years. I hope it remains exciting for you also. Make it as effective as you would like to make it exciting. Thank you.